time to talk about luxury cruising. From suites so sweet to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Hey, it's Krystal here. Before we get started, did you know that there is a way for you to directly support the podcast? Head over to my website, luxurycruising.net, and you can buy me a latte, a glass of champagne, or even a whole bottle of champagne if you want. Leave me a note, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out on the next episode. That's luxurycruising.net. You can also leave me a note or ask a question. Okay, let's get on with the show.
Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Krystal Sodaitis, and this week we have Melanie, and Melanie is going to tell us about her amazing Caribbean adventure on the Norwegian Joy in the Haven. Melanie, please tell the audience anything you would like them to know about you.
Hi, my name's Melanie. I went cruising on the Norwegian Joy in the Haven this past November. Short one, a little bit odd for a cruise for them. But they were doing 2 little short cruises on the Joy, and I was going to be in Orlando anyway. So quick hop over to Port Canaveral to head out. It was just myself and my son, but we like a quiet and we like easy and we like, just a very relaxed trip. So when we were looking at the cruise, of course, we picked the Haven.
Yeah, of course. Amazing. So usually I ask people what led to your decision to take this cruise? But it sounds like you were already going to be in Orlando anyway.
Yes. So we typically were Disney people. So we typically go to Disney every year. And it happened to be the same time we were going to Disney. And I was just sort of looking around. I was actually looking more at Disney cruises. And somehow a Norwegian cruise popped up that they were doing this short cruise that went out of Port Canaveral into their private island and to Nassau and then back to Port Canaveral. And it was perfect timing for us to go. We were already had the trip to Orlando. We just cut off some days at Disney and went on the cruise the second half of our trip.
That's awesome. And I wonder if you follow it at all. I know for Royal Caribbean, and I want to say MSC doesn't do it now, but they're getting into these short cruises that go out of Port Canaveral. And that was one of the things, honestly, that turned me off initially from Disney, is that because I don't live in Florida. We like Disney, but we're not the family that's going to go to Disney year after year after year. And so I was like, why am I flying to Florida for a 3-day cruise or a 4-day cruise? I want a week. But I think there is a huge market, and the cruise lines have really capitalized on this, of people who do want to go to the parks. Maybe it's not just Disney. Maybe it's also Universal, or, maybe they're throwing in, I think there's an Orlando SeaWorld. I'm pretty sure there is.
Yes.
And so they tack on a few days in the park, a few days in a cruise. And I got to tell you, we did that just this last winter over New Year's. We did 4 days in Anaheim, LA area, and then 6 days on a cruise. And it was fantastic.
I thought it was fantastic. A couple days in the park and then hop on the ship and just relax on the ship. I thought it was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah. So tell us about the embarkation, anything special about either before the cruise started or at the embarkation that was related to being in the Haven.
So I have to say, if you want something easy, this is the way to do it. I feel like I should be working for Norwegian. I like them so much now. So we show up in Port Canaveral, and it's the busiest cruise ship port in the world. I did not know that, but it is. It's the busiest cruise ship port in the world. And there's this massive sea of people as we're pulling in. And we got there early in the morning. We were there by about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I was like, oh, this is not going to be fun to stand in this line, except you're not with those people. You go to the Haven's own separate area. There's a nice little tent that says Haven. And you walk up to them and you tell them who you are. And they're so nice and friendly. And they've taken your baggage at this point. And they check you all in, and they're safe right up the escalator. Thank you. And the sea of people disappears behind you as you go up this escalator by yourself. And you're looking, going, yes, I'm in the haven now. I am royalty.
Yeah.
And then you come out on the top, and then you're at security. And then there's the other mass of people going through all the security lines, and you're 2 people away from your own private security entrance with the haven.
Ooh, ooh.
Yep, you go through that private security, where just like at the airport, they put you through the metal detectors and they scan your luggage and your carry-ons, whatever you have. Everyone very, very friendly. You get through that really quick, and then they walk you over to the Haven Lounge. So there's a separate Haven Lounge waiting area from everyone else. Some morning snacks there, some juices, coffees, some light breakfast fare while you're waiting to get checked in. You go up, there's a desk there with Norwegian Cruise Line staff. They get you all checked in. They give you your little card for your room. And concierge then comes out to speak with the people who are in the lounge, and they split you up into groups. If the boat sinks, what's the drill you have to do?
The muster station.
There you go. I
Muster
couldn't
drill.
think of the word muster, the muster drill.
Yeah.
They bring you onto the shift based on your muster drill
Okay. Yeah.
station, because that's the first thing that they do. So to avoid having to go to a separate muster drill, if you're in the Haven, they split you up in your groups. They take you onto the ship, and they walk you right to your muster station, and then they scan you all in, and you're done. You don't have to
Beautiful.
think about doing a muster drill or going or finding or doing anything else like that. And once you're done with that, the same staff escorts you back to the Haven proper. So there's a main area, the ship within the ship. So the Haven has its own concierge lounge, its own restaurant, its pool, an observation lounge on the Joy. Every Haven's a little bit different, but this is for the Joy. They escort you to that area. And then it's time for lunch in your private Haven restaurant with
Nice.
anything that you want. Very lovely. Very, very lovely.
That
Uh,
sounds amazing.
It was. I was like, this is out of this world. Because we had done a Disney cruise before and their concierge. I thought that was pretty good, but I had no idea how much more there could be. Like, for me to compare the two, I have to say, I think my better experience was actually with Norwegian than with Disney. And people often say the opposite.
Tell us the differences between concierge class on Disney and the Haven on Norwegian.
So with the Haven, you get your own private restaurant, which you're the only ones who can go there. Nobody else from the ship can come in there. It's just whoever has booked a Haven room. Breakfast, lunch, dinner there. You don't need a reservation. You show up whenever you want to eat. By the end of the first day, like we showed up for lunch that day, and by the time we came back for dinner that night, the staff knew our names. They knew our name. They knew my name. They knew my son's name. They knew we had a preference for sitting outside because there's an indoor and outdoor part. We always like sitting outside, even if it was windy. We're outdoor people. You just sit down. They do, and very, very quickly, the staff is very well trained to pick on like they knew what kind of wine I liked. So they were already asking me, like, do you want your wine? Yeah, I want my glass of wine with dinner. They knew what kind of wine I wanted. They knew my son drank apple juice. There was apple juice out. They knew he loved pizza and French fries. Before I knew it, the pizza and French fries were on the table. Very accommodating. So anything that he wanted that was different, that was kids' menu, they got for him. Anything that I wanted off the menu, very easy to get. If there was something different or I want something modified, also very easy. So I think that big difference is that sit-down restaurant. Disney, I was on the Wish, one of its first sailings, and I enjoyed my time on the Wish. The concierge area is very nice for Disney, but there's no private restaurant there. They have a lounge and you can get some like hors d'oeuvre type food, but not a sit-down dinner, not a sit-down breakfast, lunch, dinner like you do with the Haven on the Norwegian. So I think it's just a very nice experience to have a very nice restaurant that's available to you, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, no matter what you want to do, and have staff that is very keyed into who you are. I mean, if you're going to pay that dollar amount, you're going to luxury cruise. Isn't that what you're paying for? You're paying for that extra experience. So I think my favorite part of the Haven was having that restaurant there.
Yeah. And were there like, especially since you're on a shorter cruise, you may not want to be spending hours having your meals. So what was the turnaround time? And like, was there sort of like a buffet option if you wanted to just quickly grab food, or was it all sit down and order out of a menu?
So in the Haven restaurant, it was sit down order out of a menu, but they also have the observation lounge and the concierge lounge that also had food out for breakfast. And then throughout the day had little things that you could grab. Also on the Joy, where the Haven is situated, one on deck above the concierge lounge. Within one deck, right in that same area is the buffet. So if you really wanted to grab something quick, it's right there. You also have your butler. Your butler can bring you room service to your room anytime you want. You can just call him on the phone. Yeah. So you have a butler and a room steward in the Haven. So people always talk about what kind of Haven room did you get? Are you in the Haven proper, which is right near the concierge lounge? Their pool is in the center, which is your own private pool for just Haven guests. And then there's rooms around that. They consider that the Haven proper. And then Norwegian's also taken rooms in other parts of the shift and made them Haven rooms, but although they're not in the Haven proper. I opted for a room not in the Haven proper because I wanted to be in the aft. They have these huge decks in the aft, these huge rooms and these huge decks that have these huge balconies to sit on with tables and chairs. And I just thought that was magnificent. And that's where I wanted to be. People talk about maybe you don't see your butler as much because you're so far on the other end of the shift because the Haven is all forward. I didn't find it to be an issue for me, but I'm also not somebody who needs my butler every 30 seconds. Like he came, he introduced himself the first day. He brought us snacks in the afternoon. If I called him and needed something, he was responsive. I think that that's sometimes a complaint that people get. Oh, you don't see him as much because you're in the far end of the ship, but it didn't seem to affect me at all. I thought our room was wonderful. It was massive, especially for just two of us. You walked in, you had a smaller bathroom that still had a shower in it. You had the living room with a couch that folded out into a full-size bed. That's where my son was. That also had a sitting area in it where you could eat. You went out onto a large balcony where there were two lounge chairs that you could sit in. And there was also a table and chairs where you could have dinner out there. And then there was a separate bedroom where I was in that had its own huge bathroom with a huge tub, like huge soaking tub that looked out over the balcony out to the ocean.
Oh, that's always so nice.
I mean,
love that.
could you be any more spoiled?
Nice. Yes. Do you remember what like the category of the stateroom was? Or did it have like a name?
I think it's an H2. It's the Haven aft state, or I'd have to look it up to be honest with you, but it's with the regular balcony. There's a large balcony, regular balcony. And even the regular balcony was massive. So I can't imagine what the large balcony looks like because mine was pretty big.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. And I'm sure if anybody were to look at a deck plan, they could see these rooms because the fact that it had two separate bedrooms, I'm surprised it didn't have some sort of like Haven suite or like one bedroom Haven aft suite or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's the one bedroom Haven aft suite. I think you're correct on that. Yes.
That just tells you how far deep I go into like cruise like information.
I know. And there's a lot out there. It's hard to sift through a lot of the information.
Yeah, I love it, which is why I do this podcast.
Yes.
I love the layout. Thanks for the description of the layout. How about the decor? Like, what was the general feel of the room?
I thought it was very comfortable. It felt homey. My son was very comfortable out on that queen bed. There was enough space for the two of us because he's a teenager now. So like what teenager like wants to hang out with their mom all the time. So when we like needed to be apart from each other, he could go in his part or he could go out on the balcony. I could go in my bedroom. Very luxurious. The sheets were wonderful. There's a pillow menu. You could pick whatever kind of pillows you wanted. In my bedroom, they had the little ceiling where the stars twinkled. So you could have the stars twinkling at night. That went right into our bathroom, was very large. Again, it had the soaking tub. There was a separate shower that was large that also looked out onto the ocean. Double vanities, its own separate like water closet where the toilet is. So, you know, sometimes you feel cramped on a cruise. I did not feel cramped on this cruise. We had plenty of room for the two of us.
Yeah, sounds beautiful. Did you have a separate entrance to the balcony from your bedroom?
No, because the bathroom was there. Because the bathroom looked out
because
over.
The bathroom can look at the bathroom's
Yeah.
okay. I'll trade that. I'll trade that.
Yeah.
Looking at the ocean from my shower to be able to walk out. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
That sounds beautiful. So The Haven restaurant, I know that Norwegian is known for its kind of, whether free at sea or include stuff. With the stateroom, was any specialty dining included?
I think it came as part of our free at sea program. We did have one night of specialty dining, which I planned on doing because I only was on a 3-day cruise. So
Yeah.
it depends on how long your cruise is. But I enjoyed the Haven restaurant so much, I didn't want to leave there. I was like, never mind. I don't want to leave here. These people are wonderful to me. I know that there's a steakhouse somewhere that like sounded like a really good idea when I first got on the ship. And now I don't want to leave them. We tried out the buffet one day. We checked out some of the bars and some of the quick stuff that was included, but we wanted to stay in the Haven. We just enjoyed that experience at restaurants. But there are plenty of specialty restaurants that you can do. I mean, there's the steakhouse, there's an Italian, there's seafood, there's a sushi place, there's a whole list of things that if you wanted to branch out, there's certainly the opportunity is there. The concierge is there. I think they hold some spots for Haven people for when they need a special reservation. They're like always available. They sit at that desk. If you walk into the concierge lounge, I think their hours are like 7 a.m. to like 8 or 9 p.m. They're very available, very accommodating to staff. Anything that you need, I found them to be very easy to work with.
That's beautiful. I love that. Did any other amenities come with the room?
I think the big things were that, embarkation. So when you got somewhere, getting on and off the ship was very easy. So because Norwegian tenders at a lot of their stops. They finally did build a pier at Great Stirrup Cay, but it wasn't quite ready yet when I was there. So we still had to tender over to the island. Else has to have a group and a line. You don't do that in the Haven. You go down to the concierge lounge and they're like, okay, you ready? And they take you to their little private elevator and they zoom you right down to where you tender and you get right onto the tender and go right over to the island. So that's getting on in Port Canaveral. And then when you're going to different ports, getting on and off the ship is very easy. That's included. The big things that we took advantage of were, of course, that restaurant that I keep talking about. It was like, I love food. So I was very happy to sit in that restaurant all the time. You have your own private pool, which my son wanted me to make sure that I told you guys the best part of the cruise was the private pool. So instead of fighting for everybody up on the deck, with the rest of the cruise, you have your own private pool. And we must be the only people who cared about that private pool because it was like us the whole time. There's also a hot tub in that area, and that's all enclosed. The roof can open and close, but that area is enclosed. Up 2 decks is also a private Haven sun deck that has 2 hot tubs on it as well. That's only for the Haven and 16 and older. But I think probably if you're quiet and well behaved, I don't think anybody's going to bother you up there because my son was 15 and truthfully, we were up there some of the time and no one bothered us. They were quiet and well behaved. I think there were more people up there. They wanted to be in hot tubs and they wanted to be outside. The roof being open was good enough for us to have a completely private pool to ourselves. And then the staff would come through and they would bring you drinks and sometimes snacks out there. The observation lounge was right off of that. They had a cappuccino machine in there. They would have drinks out during the day. They would have snacks out during the day where you could run in there and grab some food and bring it back to that pool area. So I think is the big sell for me is that quieter, smaller area where you're not standing in a buffet line with 85,000 other people. You're not, squishing a pool or a hot tub like this with 85,000 other people. That really ship within a ship luxury. There's not that many other people around. Other people, don't have access to the areas that you have access to.
Yeah, that is definitely a big perk of being in the Haven or any kind of, suite area on these ships. Do you know the Norwegian ships and sort of the order in which they were built and debuted? For the Norwegian Joy, could you tell if it was part of the original design or if it's a retrofit? Because I think some of the older Norwegian ships that weren't designed with a Haven in mind, they retrofitted it.
Yes. So the Joy was built with the Haven in mind. It's set up, it's ready to go. So some of the older ships, yes, they retrofitted it having a Haven, and then they don't necessarily have a restaurant. They take one of the specialty restaurants and they use that as your restaurant for breakfast and lunch. And then for dinner, it's a mix of other people as well. So the Joy is a newer ship. So the Haven was part of the plan from the beginning. And
Yeah.
it's very, very nice to set up. What wasn't part of the plan from the beginning, I think, is the outlying suites that they put in that they've made part of the Haven, like where we were in the aft.
Yeah.
But again, not an issue for me. Some people, I guess, wouldn't like that and want to be right in and never, ever leave. I don't know. It got me my exercise for the day to walk from one end of the ship to the other a couple times a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoyed that, and it got us out to see a little bit of the other shift. And then very quickly after seeing the other parts of the shift, which are beautiful, and it could be a very different vacation for depending on what you want to do. We wanted nice, calm, quiet, sit in the hot tub, sit in the pool, relax, nice meals, sit in the observation lounge, sit out on our deck. But there's certainly plenty to do on the ship if you wanted like a go vacation. I mean, they have the go-kart track. Who did a go-kart track on a ship? The virtual arcade. They have tons of different activities going on throughout the day. They have the kids in the teens club. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to do if you want it to be like a really go vacation. We just didn't, that wasn't our focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there anything out on this ship though that the Haven like afforded you? Like if you wanted to see a show, did you have reserved seats or
Yes.
time on any of the go-kart or anything like that? I don't think the Haven gives you like time on the go-kart, like specific.
They don't give you time on the go-karts, but the go-karts sell out really quickly. And I think they reserve some of that time for us because it's very easy on the first day to go to the concierge and be like, we want time on the go-karts and to be able to get it if you go early. They can't just like get you in it all the time. But I think that the concierge getting into specialty dining, getting into excursions, getting you up on the go-kart certainly helps quite a bit. For the shows, if you did want to go to the shows, they would have you meet in the lounge just prior to the show, I think about half an hour before the show. And then they would escort you down and there was separate Haven seating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good to know. Good to know. What I would really love to know is at Great Stirrup Cay, is there a Haven area? And if there is, tell us about that.
There is not a Haven area, but there is a private area, Silver Cove. So you have to pay to be in there, which I was going to do anyway. They have cabanas. Let me tell you about Silver Cove and the cabanas.
Please, yes.
So when I sailed Disney, we also did the cabanas on their private island, which are very basic.
Nothing else included?
Yeah. Disney's cabanas are very, very basic. There's no air conditioning. They're wide open. There's no bathroom. And then you get to be on that private beach. And they're very, very, very expensive and very, very difficult to get. Now let's talk about Norwegian and Silver Cove. Again, I should work for Norwegian. So Silver Cove, they are pricey. It is a private cabana, but again, if you come right off the ship, Haven makes it easy to come off the ship. They get you off the ship. As soon as you get off the ship, there's the check-in for the cabanas. They get you on a golf cart. They drive you over to your cabana. I had one of the ocean villas. Or no, I'm sorry. I was on the lagoon side. I was on the lagoon villa. Air-conditioned, private, full bathroom, shower, towels, toilet, full living room, completely air conditioning, television with movies on it for the kids or adults. They bring you food. They bring you chips and salsa. They bring you fruit. There's a refrigerator packed with waters in it. There's also staff walking around, bring you anything you want to eat or drink. Part of being in Silver Cove is an infinity pool. We're early morning people. So we got off the ship like right when we got there. My son and I swam in that infinity pool until about lunchtime by ourselves.
Wow.
It was wonderful. Wow. So part of being in Silver Cove, they also have a private buffet there for just the Silver Cove people. Just take a little, they'll come and pick you up if you want. We weren't that lazy. I'm lazy on vacation.
We're going to need the golf cart to get like the 12 feet to the buffet.
Yeah, they're like, call for the golf cart. We'll drive you to the buffet. I was like, I feel like I could walk over there. I can see it. It's down that way. Okay. So we just walked right over, plenty of food. And I mean, we're on an island. It was like jerk chicken, hamburgers, hot dogs, it's lunch, but I thought the food was good. And again, no long line to wait. Full bar there. And that may be changing. We had a drink package. So my drink package carried over to the island, but that may be changing on future cruises. So that all carried over. No issues there. They also have a Moet and Chandon separate bar in the middle of the lagoons. So if you're into champagne,
You swim out to the middle of the lagoon and you've got like a
No,
little like swim up bar of champagne.
no, right at the top of the beach, there's a
Oh,
gazebo. That's a champagne bar.
oh, that's very nice.
And it's lovely. Lovely. I mean, I was absolutely in heaven. I was in heaven in that infinity pool, just sitting out there by the ocean. My kid loves to swim. He was in heaven. I thought the price that we paid for the Silver Cove was 100% worth it. I would do it every single time.
Yeah,
Every
sounds
single
like it.
time I would pay for that. Absolutely beautiful. And then just down from your cabana, you had your private beach. You had 6 chairs there, 2 umbrellas, all of your towels, floaties to go into the water. We did go into the ocean. It was very nice. I was on the lagoon side, supposedly much calmer. The ocean side has more waves if you're interested in that.
It almost sounds like your cabana is like your own little beach house.
Yes.
It's
And
like
I was in like the little studio one. They have 1 bedroom ones. You could take a nap.
yeah. So the rumor is that a Norwegian built those with the idea of allowing people to stay overnight on the island.
Yes,
That is the
please.
sort of like rumor because why would you need a bed? Like, why do you need a bedroom? Why do you need a bathroom with a shower? I mean, but we'll see. We'll see. Norwegian, if you're listening, please put it in the comments. Tell us. Give us.
Yes. I absolutely thought it was wonderful. And so they have bigger ones there. We had the smaller one that was just the studio, but there are ones that have bedrooms to them. And I thought it was worth every penny to have that air conditioning when it got too hot and you needed a little bit of break, just to have a place to like duck out of the sun, a place to store all of your stuff, to go and get a water. I thought it was absolutely worth it.
That
I
is
thought
beautiful.
the whole island setup was fantastic.
Yeah.
And they were
Yeah.
doing a lot of construction when I was there. And now I've seen the updated pictures. They've really added quite a bit. Even if you weren't in Silver Cove, they've added quite a bit to the island as well.
Yeah. I think that the dock is finished, but they're still working for one ship, but they're still doing plenty
Yes.
of work there. So it sounds like it's
Yes.
going to be fantastic.
Oh, quirky thing that I didn't know. Norwegian's island is right next door to Royal Caribbean's island. You
Yes,
can see
it
them from
is.
each other, right? I didn't know that when I pulled up. I was like, is that Royal Caribbean ship? Is that
Yes.
their island? I was like, yes, they're right next to each other. So I pulled up a map. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, they're right next to each other. I can't remember if we were on Coco Cay when they were doing construction, but I remember because like for a long time Coco Cay had a pier and Great Stirrup Cay didn't. We were like,
Yeah.
tender. I really
Yeah.
don't like tendering. But
I wasn't a fan. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm going up. Part of the reason I wanted to do this too is I'm booked for Alaska in the Haven on Norwegian on the Encore, which is a sister ship to the Joy. That's this August. I'm a little bit nervous about tendering because I I spent Lake Manola, Pennsylvania, like we're boating people. And I have to tell you, tendering to Great Stirrup, I was kind of like, I don't feel so good. So I
yeah.
did not indulge in the champagne at the beautiful champagne bar because I was a little bit frightened about what would happen to me on the tender on the way back. It ended up being fine. But no, I also am not a big fan of tendering.
Yeah. Me
I'm
either.
glad
I
they
didn't
built
know.
a pier.
Yes. Yeah. And plus we've had to cancel. They've had ports canceled because the sea is too rough for a tender boat. So this is going to prevent a
Yes.
lot of port stops at the islands being canceled. So
Yes.
nothing but, I mean, I know there's a lot of people get upset about the environmental, and I'm not saying I'm not interested in the environment, but also, it's a business and they can do it carefully. And so I'm a big fan of the docking for the ships. Anything else about the Joy or the Haven that we haven't covered that you want people to know?
Do it.
Worth it.
Do it. It's absolutely worth it. People are like, oh, it's so much more. Sure, it is. I'm not going to lie. It's more expensive. But for what I want out of my vacation,
Yeah.
to me, it's worth it. If I'm going to work this as hard as I do to make money, I don't want to throw it away on something. I want a good experience. I don't want to use my money for junk. I want it for something really good. This is a wonderful experience. My son had a fantastic time. I had a fantastic time. Like probably one of the top vacations that I've ever been on.
And it was only 3 days. And I think that that is a
Yeah.
way of experiencing the Haven. I don't know. Did you say
Mhm.
3 nights? I can't remember if you said 3 nights or 4 nights, but that is a way of experiencing
3.
it without like breaking the bank. It's like, you know what? I'm going to do something nice for myself. I'm going to do the
Yep.
Haven for 3 nights. And I'm sure Norwegian is going to have more and more ships that are doing the 3 and 4 nights just to the Bahamas and
Yes.
to Great Stirrup Cay and back.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. So let's take a step back from this particular cruise, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions that I ask everybody.
Sure.
The first question is, how do you define luxury?
The best experience, the best of everything, you know, the top of the line, the best customer service. When I want something, the concierge gets it for me. When I go to the room, it's perfectly cleaned. And any amenity that I want or would expecting is there for me. That's luxury to me.
Awesome. Did this experience in the Haven meet that definition for you?
Yes. Yes. Oh, I need to get one of their fuzzy robes that's in the room.
I am all about the fuzzy robe.
I am.
Yeah, I'm one of those crazy people that will walk around the ship in their fuzzy robe. I'm like, you know what?
Oh,
Judge
yeah,
me
I
if you-
100% did.
Yeah, like
I loved it.
I know.
Why wouldn't I
Judge
wear
me
that
if you-
robe?
Like, yes, exactly. I mean, I love the fuzzy rope.
Yes.
Do you have a dream cruise
I'm doing it in August.
to Alaska?
I've never been to Alaska. I've always wanted to go on a cruise to Alaska through Glacier Bay.
Yeah.
So I was trying to wait, like who went through Glacier Bay, and I was looking at everything and I had settled on Norwegian. I actually booked that cruise first, and then this cruise sort of appeared.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, why don't I go test out my room? I'm
There
going to
you
be in Orlando anyway. Why don't I go test out the room? Then I'm going to be in for Alaska.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Yeah, Alaska's amazing and it's beautiful, and I hope
I'm
that
so
you will
excited.
come back.
Oh,
to-
definitely.
Any other luxury cruise or luxury travel scheduled other than the Alaska cruise?
No, that's it right now is the Alaska cruise. I wish my timing was a little bit better. I'm also a Disney Vacation Club member, and they do a special Disney Vacation Club cruise. And now Disney's really putting out a bunch of new ships.
Yeah.
They're doing like a Northern European cruise on one of their new ships. That's a DVC cruise that I could
Wow.
have gotten on, but it's way too close to the Alaska cruise.
Yeah.
It's just like, I still have to go to work and pay my bill. Like,
Yes.
I can't cruise all the time.
Right.
So I'm keeping that in mind. I'm keeping that cruise in mind to see if they ever like run it again, even not as a DVC cruise, but just that Northern European and where they were going. Like that would be, I think, fantastic as well. And probably into the Mediterranean someday.
All of it. All of it. All of Europe. I love the northern. We did a Baltic cruise and it was probably our favorite cruise of all of them. It was just so nice. So cool. So cool. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on the podcast to tell us about your little 3-day jaunt in the Haven.
Yes.
I sincerely hope that you will come back after your Alaskan cruise to tell us how that went. And
Yes.
to all the listeners, thank you again for being here. And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising.
Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.